Otoritas Kesehatan Gaza mencatat lebih dari 41.000 warga Palestina tewas dalam serangan Israel sejak Oktober tahun 2023 lalu. Nah, sementara layanan darurat sipil yang bertugas menemukan orang-orang hilang di bawah reruntuhan di jalan-jalan di Gaza mengatakan ada sekitar 10.000 orang yang hilang selama serangan Israel berlangsung di Gaza. Nah, lalu seperti apa kisah perjuangan warga Gaza dalam menghadapi perang tak berujung ini? Insight akan membahasnya bersama saya, Desi Anwar.
Memasuki 1 tahun genosida yang dilakukan Israel di Jalur Gaza, 7 Oktober 2023 lalu, puluhan ribu korban jiwa telah berjatuhan. Sedikitnya 41.000 orang telah tewas, di mana kebanyakan korban merupakan perempuan dan anak-anak. Hal ini mengakibatkan sebagian besar warga Palestina di Gaza berusaha mati-matian untuk menyelamatkan diri. Salah satunya Haya Abunasser. Haya terpaksa berpindah-pindah sebanyak 4 kali saat menjadi pengungsi di Jalur Gaza, usai rumah keluarganya hancur dalam serangan Israel. Kini dia berhasil keluar dari Jalur Gaza dan mencoba menata kehidupannya kembali. Lewat karya tulisannya, Haya terus menyuarakan kisah warga Palestina di tengah perang yang tak berujung.
Missiles stole the colors, the grass turned grey, the lilac lost its purple hue. Birds are silent on broken branches. Itulah potongan puisi karya Haya Abunasser yang mengungkapkan pengalamannya bertahan di tengah perang Gaza. Haya saat ini merupakan seorang aktivis HAM dan juga seorang penulis yang karyanya telah diterbitkan di sejumlah majalah internasional seperti Agni, Scoundrel, Time, Mizna hingga Guernica. Nah, lalu seperti apa kisah perjuangan Haya yang tercermin dari karya-karyanya? Sudah ada di samping saya saat ini di studio Haya Abunasser untuk membahasnya. Halo Haya.
Hello.
Good to have you with us and thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Your first time in Indonesia?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you think of it so far?
So wonderful, fabulous. I like the people are here so friendly. And I like the idea that they are hardworking as well. And this is like the vibe here. It's like a vivid and full of life. So I really like it.
Okay, and you are currently staying in Malaysia, I hear.
Yes.
Okay, how long have you been in Malaysia for?
It's been now 5 months. Just studying my master's degree in international relations and working as a fundraising officer for several non-government organizations. And yeah, in Malaysia and out of Malaysia, like in some organizations supported by the US aid, because I think that a humanitarian work cannot be like divided from being a poet and connected with my emotions as well.
Okay, and before that you were in Palestine?
Yeah, I came directly from Gaza Strip. I can say that I'm a survivor from the genocide. It's like a big thing now in my introduction, my self-introduction for me. And then I managed to escape from Gaza Strip to Egypt, and from Egypt directly to Malaysia on the 15th of March.
The 15th of March of this year?
Yeah, of this year.
Okay, this is as a follow-up to what happened on the October of last year. Now, I was looking at your CV, and this is you are a writer, you're a poet, and you are also an activist in the human rights. But I want to know the real Haya. So tell me a little bit about, I mean, your background, where you're from, a little bit perhaps about your childhood, where you grew up, like your parents, and you know your life before you're a refugee.
Okay, so this is a thing about me that I I born a refugee in Gaza Strip because my grandparents came from Dar es Salaam, West Bank. It's like now it's a fully occupied village. And then they had to evacuate from Dar es Salaam to Khan Yunis and Gaza Strip, and then I grew up in the northern area in the Gaza Strip, in an area called Saftawi, and there where my house family is, and I grew in a very high educated family. They are.
Tell me a little bit about what your parents do or did, and the kind of education you had, and you know, your day-to-day life. What was it like?
Got it. Yes, this is a thing that I just was so lucky for having my family, my parents. They were like, I can't say that they were overprotective by providing us with a model of high education, of understanding, and a very comprehensive circumstances around us, understanding our beliefs and our desires, and giving us the space to express ourselves like freely. So this is something that I'm just, I can tell that I'm grateful for them for giving me this space, because my mother, she's an Arabic teacher, and she's like just very intelligent and clever lady. Because
what did she teach? And
she did like more like an Arabic literature.
Arabic
and
literature.
Yeah, she started like for primary school, and then after that she became into philosophy more. And I think this is something like about her, that she's a philosopher by nature. She's like a very cultured and educated about philosophy, about Plato, Aristotle, and she was able to understand how we can develop these kind of contradictions in between a different ideology that we grow up in. And about my father, also the same thing. My father, he is like a professor in the international humanitarian law, and he's like a judge in the constitutional court. So even like my father was like, I can tell that he had this combination between tenderness and between also the being tough as a judge. So this is something that we used to follow some rules and being very organized in our community and in our house. And having this kind of combination in my family, I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, and they are, one of them are a lawyer, 1 doctor, and 2 engineers. I'm the 5th in my family, and I have a younger brother. He's an engineer. He's studying now in Egypt, because he also was able to manage escaping from Gaza after I did with 1 month only. So this is like, it was like this kind of being in this family. I thought that this is kind of in Gaza Strip, and having this ability to be in very stable family, having this kind of open-minded, and tell you something about the situation in Palestine after the civic division, of course, because or specifically for my generation, that we grow up in a very in different ideologies, and it was like a very contradictions that we have to accept and to grasp and to understand, because there's were like the Islamic party in Gaza Strip, and there were the liberal Fatah, or the Palestinian Liberation Organization in West Bank, and we faced, or we witnessed, both of these ideologies. So we were just like a result, our understanding of the ground, or of our the history, were inspired from these 2 ideologies. And I'm not talking about these only 2 ideologies. Before that, we had the Marxists and the socialist parties, which like a very different level of understanding.
A hodgepodge of different beliefs and different ideologies.
Exactly.
Now, you were free to express yourself.
Yeah, exactly. About like being free to express yourself, this is something that maybe I can't say the controversial point being in Gaza, because a lot of families turn to be much more extremist and conservative regarding the new wave of Islamic parties that were trying to control the area in Gaza Strip, because of, you know, like every time there's kind of contradictions or chaos between these ideologies, you feel that there are a lot of people tend to be more into the idea that I want to be more religious because this is the right thing, and others going to be like against religion because they want to commit to their own beliefs beliefs, because they want to this kind of, I'm not going to say civic division, because in one family you can witness that there are a lot of ideologies, a lot of, for example, like four brothers or
yes, it's understandable.
Exactly, because this is like how I can tell the community. It was not like a conflict or a fight against individuals in Gaza Strip. It was like a very, I can say that there were somehow like a harmony between these ideologies. For example, like my uncle was a Marxist, and other one was like following Hamas and religious much more, following the Islamic, and my father, he's liberal, so he's like kind of combination between a religion and between the liberation or the liberalism of the community. So this is like a thing that even like my brothers themselves, each one has his own path and his own beliefs. So this is how I can say that this is the main features and the main characteristics and the community in Gaza Strip, which is something I'm grateful and just proud of, that in this blockade area of just 350 kilometers, you can see all these contradictions, and they just work in a harmony. They are very hard-working people.
And there's a lot of tolerance, and there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another thing about Palestine, about people in Gaza Strip mainly, that we, especially among youth, we were isolated from the rest of the world. So we were thinking that we are not enough to compete for this world, and we want just to work more than we think, just to be able to get like a good opportunities, because of the lack of opportunities and a lot of youth, and a lot of individuals in the community. So we have to fight to seek our opportunity. So we were striving all the time in a battle, in a competition. But once I get the chance to get out of Gaza, I was thinking that we are amazing. You know what I mean?
You are. I mean,
yes.
I'm looking at you, and you are, amazing. I mean, it's and also the incredible achievement that I see that you're making, and but we'll take a little break. I mean, I still have so many questions to ask you, Haya, and I think this conversation is very, very important, especially for us here in Indonesia, for the young people, because we do need to listen to what the real Palestinians, the real, especially the young people who were born and bred and raised in Gaza, and to know exactly what's going on there. Okay, so Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali, tetaplah bersama kami. Anda masih bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Di studio saya ditemani oleh Haya Abunasser, seorang aktivis, penulis, dan penyair asal Palestina yang kini berhasil menata kehidupannya kembali dan terus menyuarakan suara Palestina lewat karya-karyanya. Nah, Haya, growing up, especially with your education and your background, tell us a little bit, I mean, were you able to go out at all? And what was your perspective of the world growing up? And I know, if I'm not mistaken, you're still in your 20s. So you're still very young. And any experience that you can share with us that gives you an understanding of what being a Palestinian and living in Palestine is all about, and then the struggle that you and your people are going through.
Yes. For years, just even through media and the propaganda, we're trying to isolate Gaza Strip from the idea that it is like a Palestinian city under the umbrella of Palestine. And this thing we were able to feel, and to feel this kind of agony that making things exacerbated for our feelings, that we are isolated even from the idea of the great Palestinian issue, talking about us as Gazans, not as Palestinians. And people who just trying to put us under the de facto government of Hamas, who are labeled as a terrorist. So we are much more religious, we are uneducated. There's a lot of stereotypes where harming us and still harm us like a lot more and more. Thing is that people don't understand, especially when I went out and I understood that people, even in Ramallah, other Palestinians don't know what is going on there in Gaza Strip, because we were, as we saw the world just from this small window, people in the rest of the world were watching us from this same limited window, unable to understand our ideologies, our minds, our pain, and how we are just very different from the stereotypes that they have about people, Palestinians who live in Gaza Strip, not Gazans. Because this is how where they are trying to make, and this was like the spark of the idea that this is not a Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's more like a Hamas-Israeli conflict. It's like a huge gap between, and it's like gonna say it's the secret of the truth that these people are trying to cover the main facts, so that this is about the right of return, this is about people who have been displaced. I'm even like, I lived and born and I was born in Gaza Strip, but I'm a refugee. I came from Deir State. I can't forget this, and I keep saying that I'm not from Gaza Strip, I'm from Deir State. This is how I'm just holding the memory of my grandparents, and I have this kind of responsibility for them and honor for them, that I want to maintain their right to return, even if they are not on earth now, but I am still, and I feel their pain now more after being displaced from my childhood house and being just another time a refugee and a displaced person. I'm not Haya anymore. I'm just describing myself for the past now it's almost a year, 11 months, talking about myself as a displaced and evacuated, and a person who had to evacuate from his child house and to be in a tent, and of this being just a very upper class educated person, talking about my poems or my bachelor's degree in English literature. I found myself just talking about how to live in a tent and how to survive in the starvation battle in Norwa refugee camps. And this is how, like, finding that at the beginning, when I got the chance to see the world more, not only in the West Bank, but out of the West Bank and out of Palestine, where when I'm a representative of women in Palestine in WD Women Deliver 2023 in Rwanda. And that conference provided me the chance to be more integrated into the general movement of women's rights. And this is how was a part of my work, because I've been working as a fundraising officer for 3 years now, and I was like a representative of the women's power in my community. So I was able, it was like a very great opportunity, because now I felt, by that time, I felt that now I am part of this world. Now I am a representative not only of my countries, but also a representative of all the women, because we all have the same issues, we all have the same pains, violations, rights, and etc. So we have like standards as humans. So it was like developing my understanding as individual of myself, not only the self-determination, but also the self-definition of myself as Gazans, then Palestinians, then now I'm a woman in this world representing.
And the first time you left Gaza and the West Bank, when exactly? When you actually went out of there?
It was the last year, August 2023.
So that was the first time?
It was like
before
the first
that
time.
You were basically born, bred, raised, educated in Palestine. Now, your understanding of the conflict or the history and, you know, what is happening there, that is from your own experience and your perspectives, what is it about? And how can we better understand, you know, about what it is that the Palestinians want in general and as a whole, as a people?
What we want as Palestinians, to return to our land, to our homeland. This is like just, it is simple as it is. Because we are talking, it's like since 1948, and for me, I'm just saying it's always started in 1919, since the British mandate on Palestine, when they just reformed the map of the Arab countries and of Palestine, when they were trying to get rid of. They tried to get rid of Jews in Europe, and they just gave them this kind of declaration, Balfour Declaration of the promising land there, giving them the exclusivity and giving them the superiority, just dreaming of the reign of Israel supreme from Jordan River to the Mediterranean. Mediterranean Sea. So this is like this kind of a statement that they are trying to circulate and to cover the idea that these people, they were living there and they are the rightful owners of this land. This is like the only fact. For me now, it's like something that I used to hear from my parents, from my grandparents, and I've never imagined to feel their pain. I understood their pain, but now I feel their pain much more than, and their grief, I can say that much more than before, because the idea that I got stuck in the idea that my house, it's 1 hour away from me by car, and I can't reach there. My stuff, my properties, my memories, my laughter, celebrations, and all these details that connected and attached to this house, I'm not allowed to be there. And then once we got to the images that this place, our house, our child house, was destroyed, I can't tell you this kind of pain and grief that I cried for days, just over the idea that some people gave themselves the right to do this to my childhood memories. And they killed also my neighbors, so 30 members and a whole family were killed in this brutal attack against the Saftawi Street in the northern area of Gaza Strip. So what they are talking about peace, they are talking about 2 states, but the thing that it's 1 state, it's called Palestine. This is like a very clear statement that the new generation, and using the slogan of Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, it's like a big thing for us, that now they even understand not only the circulated agreements or the solutions of the political situation and in the Middle East of the Palestinian-Israeli conflicts. No, they understand the fact, and they now calling and advocating for the rightful owners to own their land again and to live peacefully in their own villages and houses and homes and neighborhoods, because it's connected to our history and our minds. And you cannot just erase this fact and just start from scratch, writing new maps and just drawing a new history for the region and just neglecting and ignoring the people who were living there. And this thing just happened in 1948, and now it's just happening again in 2024. And no one can stop them from doing this over and over again in this brutal, atrocious world, because it's ruled by power. I do understand this, it's like a fact, but like the new generations now even understand different thing, that as long as we are supposed to be the leader of our homelands, of our countries, and we pay the taxes for these countries, they're supposed to respect, it's a must to respect our will as well, and our understanding and our desire to end this occupation and to end these attacks, and just to give it like a more, I can say that, more clear and honest the vision and image.
Let's take another break, Haya. Ya, jangan kemana-mana dulu. Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali sesaat lagi. Anda masih bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Saya ditemani Haya Abunasser, seorang aktivis dan penulis asal Palestina yang kini mencoba menata kehidupannya kembali dan terus menyuarakan suara Palestina dari karya-karyanya. And Haya, you're currently living in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. You've been there for 5 months, and All your family, are they outside of Palestine at the moment? Where are your parents and your brothers and your sister?
Now, my parents and one of my brothers are still they are in Egypt now, and my sister has children, and two of my brothers are still stuck in Gaza.
They're still stuck
Strip,
there.
yeah.
How are they? Do you contact them? Can you know, what's happening there?
It's like very hard to contact them because of the Wi-Fi connection there, and it's like really hard for me to feel that I'm unable in this kind of guilt and feeling myself that I'm a delinquent at some point, being unable to help them to get out and watching them suffering.
Where are they living?
They are in a tent in Rafah, the southern area of Gaza Strip. And it's like most of people in Gaza just stuck there, and they are just in a very, very crowded area, suffering from scarcity of water, and they some kind of under this kind of a starvation battle that they are also every time just trying to seek to provide themselves with the essentials and with the basic needs.
How did you manage to get out, and how did you and your parents and your...
Okay, so the thing that, there's some kind of coordination between some of the Egyptian companies and Israel, and we paid around $5,000 per person, or
just to get out?
yeah, exactly, $5,000 to $7,000. For me, I paid $7,000. And then when I was able to get out from Gaza Strip to Cairo, I registered my family, my parents and my brother to get out, and then I wanted them to manage to get, because like it's very difficult to secure the amount. After that, when we got the opportunity to seek them to secure the amount for the rest of my family, they get stuck in the Gaza Strip because of the blockade that when the Israeli tanks invaded the crossing borders between Rafah and Egypt, the Philadelphia area. So this was like the main dilemma of moving out, because it was like the only way to make it out.
Only people who can afford to, pay their way out can go out, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So those who are stuck, I mean, they're...
Exactly. This is something that even I think it's like where something arranged that or planned by the Egyptian government. I can't tell, because they were trying to get out into Egypt, all people who can afford getting out, which means the rich upper classes who can build some projects and investments in Cairo, which is something that may be gonna be useful. So even in this dire situation, feeling that some people are taking advantage of your pain, it was like even very difficult to understand even now for me.
7th of October, where were you? What happened? And looking back, I mean, what was your understanding of the situation and your reaction and maybe your emotions, and also perhaps, asking the questions, or why did it happen?
The 7th of October. So everything, I would say that I am not gonna make it like naively talking about that what happened of the 7th of October was the direct reason of what is happening now, because I think that it was already planned, and we were suffering from attacks from time to time, even before the 7th of October, but no one cared, because as I said before, it was like under the propaganda that it's like a Hamas and Israel conflict and attack, so it's nothing to care about. It's not about like something the right, and exactly. So it was like something that they were trying to make it something somehow like individuals battle or conflict, and not like a Palestinian. It's under the Palestinian
struggle
issue
for independence.
Exactly. So the thing that even like before that I can say it like it was like out of a sudden thing. The attack of the 7th of October. We were so surprised, and at the beginning it was like we were like very normal Saturday day, it's a weekend and we are planning to do some activities. That day was like a great mess and chaos. We just woke up and thinking that what is going on? There's just a barrage of rockets getting out of local rockets just getting out of launched from Gaza Strip against Israel, and we were get attacked and facing some escalations from time to time from the Israeli military, and we were unable to stand for our rights. Even before the August, in 21 of May, we suffered from an attack out of a sudden from Israel against us. And it was like to assassinate a lot of main leaders of another party called Jihad in Gaza Strip. So this is like a very long.
Yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg. It was a long time coming.
Exactly. So it was like an escalations, because at some point we had to stand and to shout out our pain, to speak out. And the thing that happened on the 7th of October, I can say that was like speaking out our own grief that no one cared about at the beginning. And now everyone is talking about it. Now they are advocating and protest for our rights. And why we had to be at this point to get this kind of attention that we deserve for our rights? Why not earlier? Why these individuals in this world need something that is strong, that brutal, to understand that they have to stand for these people. So this was not like something that I cannot say that we condemn, or we condemn any kind of violence in general. We call for peace. But if we are just in a prison and you are just suffering from the injustice for years, so you feel that I want to stand for myself. No one is standing me, no one supporting me. And by that time we felt this way. Even I was like crying, because I'm gonna say something like a very individual feelings and emotions about the confusion that I felt by that time. That I started crying because it was like a big thing, I know. That was like a very turning point, even in the history, that we can stand against this kind of power, and finally the slave speaks. This is how I felt by that time. And
so you felt like you're finally standing up.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
something, for your rights.
Exactly. It was like this, not about like something political or individualism or exclusivity about Hamas as a party, because we knew some of these people. We knew that these fighters who have been killed in Israel, they were such like youth, neighbors, fathers. So they are so kind. This is something about Hamas leaders or Hamas fighters people don't know, and this is like part under the stereotypes, again, the extremists, because they want to involve them under the Islamophobia across the world. But they are not like this at all. They are so kind, they are so tender, and they are just like a very normal people among us. They are some of them are our friends, and they do believe in this kind of liberal and very neutral religious beliefs. So, but this something different. It's about naturalism. It's about self-determination. It's about our rights, and it's about standing against this kind of violations and against this kind of suppression and persecution that we were suffering from like for years. And by that time, I'm gonna say that for me it was like I'm gonna just say something that my father told me. You're supposed to be happy about what is going on, because this is gonna be like for your own generation, for our grandsons, for the new children who will be able to dream of a new land and better future.
Okay, wow. Turning point. Take another little break, Haya, but we will continue our conversation. Tetaplah bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Kami akan segera kembali.
Agresi Israel ke Gaza telah berlangsung selama 1 tahun dan mengakibatkan banyak korban jiwa, kehancuran infrastruktur yang parah, dan angka pengungsian yang tinggi. Meski resolusi Dewan Keamanan PBB telah menyerukan untuk segera melakukan gencatan senjata, Israel tidak mengindahkan seruan tersebut dan terus menggempur Palestina dengan dalih membalas serangan oleh kelompok militan Hamas pada 7 Oktober 2023. Dalam jangka waktu 1 tahun, jumlah warga Palestina yang tewas berjumlah 41.600 jiwa dan lebih dari 96.000 orang terluka. Jumlah ini adalah jumlah yang dapat tercatat oleh Kementerian Kesehatan Palestina. Selain menyerang dan melakukan invasi darat di wilayah Gaza, Israel turut melakukan blokade dengan membatasi pengiriman bantuan kemanusiaan di jalur Gaza. Membuat jalur Gaza mengalami kekurangan bahan makanan, produk sanitasi, dan obat-obatan. Sementara itu, protes dan demonstrasi memperingati berjalannya 1 tahun genosida di Palestina oleh Israel berlangsung di berbagai kota di dunia. Di Pakistan, ribuan orang berkumpul di ibu kota Karachi menunjukkan solidaritas kepada Palestina. Jalanan di kota Karachi pun tidak bisa dilewati karena dipenuhi oleh warga yang berdemonstrasi. Warga Pakistan beramai-ramai melambaikan bendera Palestina dan Pakistan. Warga Pakistan pun menyuarakan untuk mengakhiri pertumpahan darah di Gaza dan peperangan di Timur Tengah. Di Turki, seruan solidaritas terhadap Palestina diadakan di beberapa kota, di antaranya di Ankara dan Istanbul. Ribuan warga Turki memenuhi jalanan sambil mengibarkan bendera Turki dan Palestina. Selain itu, doa bersama juga digelar. Di Barcelona, Spanyol, ratusan warga turut berdemonstrasi pada Minggu 6 Oktober. Tidak hanya menyerukan dukungan terhadap Palestina, tetapi juga Lebanon yang diserang oleh Israel sejak 1 Oktober lalu. Dalam aksinya, para demonstran mengecam agresi yang dilakukan oleh Israel dengan menyerukan seruan boikot dan menuntut berhentinya genosida.
Masih bersama Insight with Desi Anwar, saya ditemani Haya Abunasser, seorang aktivis dan penulis asal Palestina. Dan ya, Haya menceritakan pengalamannya tumbuh di jalur Gaza di tengah gempuran serangan Israel, dan sekarang Haya merupakan seorang refugee ya, yang tinggal di Malaysia mengambil masters. So you're doing your masters in Malaysia. You managed to get a scholarship, and so why did you choose to go to Malaysia?
Yeah, it was like a plan because I got like a scholarship 77 in one of the private colleges, and to study the master's degree. And I was like, I said that maybe an opportunity to explore Asia by that time.
And what are you studying?
And now I'm studying, I had a bachelor's degree in English literature, and I worked as a fundraising officer for 3 years now. And like this kind of
in Gaza?
shift, in Gaza. And it's like a shift between like my desire to be a poet and being into literature, and now I'm just become more interested in being more into the humanitarian and the United Nations agencies and the humanitarian work more. And this is why I choose to study international relations, because even like my thesis is about the humanitarian work being used as methodologies or as an excuse for some of the greatest states or the colonialism, settler colonialism movements, just to interfere in some of the fragile states.
But tell me, what, expressing yourself through your writings and through your creative writings and your poetry, what is it that you want to, you know, share or to express or to just, you know, manifest to the outside world?
So like the thing about me, I just grew up as a very introvert and a very emotional person, like a very sensitive even. So it was like this kind of sensitivity make me able to make friends easily. Dealing with the community, it was so hard for me. So I just started to feel that writing my diaries, writing about myself and writing poems gonna be like an escape or a torch of hope, that I gonna maybe create my own world where I can be comfortable about who I am. So after like having this kind of like monologues that turned to be more like poems and diaries that I kept to myself at the beginning of my journey, because I was also obsessed with the Palestinian writer Mahmoud Darwish. I just gonna say that he was like a godfather for me, and he were able just to express a lot of complicated emotions into just a simple words. So I was like very interested, and I've been taken by this ability of how to make this kind of complications inside my soul into a very beautiful verses, metaphors, and making it like a very smooth for readers, so they can understand my
what you're going through,
my complicity, without being that I don't have to express myself like verbally, but they can read my words and they understand me like easily.
No, but, and of course you're a published poet now. Can you see, you know, what is it that you want people to understand about you and the complications inside you? What is it that you're trying to communicate, and how do you, you know, what is it that you're trying to say through your work, especially in light of what is happening in your life, what's happening to your country, and what's happening in, you know, the experience that you're basically you know, exposed to?
So being Palestinian, I think, as a writer, most of Palestinian writers talk about exile, about estrangement, about nihilism, and this is what I'm experiencing now. But the thing that the power of my writings allowed me to survive during the genocide, because by that time it was like, and at the beginning of the genocide I was unable to express myself or to talk about it or even to write about it, because it's very difficult to comprehend and to grasp all these events out of a sudden that just changed my whole life. But by that time I started to feel more about death, that I don't care about life anymore and I gonna choose to die. So it was like a conflict between death and life. And I'm just now gonna say that the opposite of death, not life, and the opposite of life is not death. It's nihilism. It's feeling nothing. It's like much more worse than being dead.
Than actual death.
Exactly. So the thing that during the genocide it was about that I don't want to fight anymore, and I don't know why I'm just stuck in this kind of pain and grief. And there were times that I cried my heart out because I feel this pain that I cannot express. I miss my home. I want just to wake up in a normal day, having just a normal path, sleeping over just a very soft bed, not the ground. And when you feel that you are just this kind of humiliation, seeking over clean water and some food every morning, just sleeping on the floor, unable to take like a decent bath, that time of losing your humanity as a human being and being more as a person, as in a very animalistic way in a forest, where camps turn to be more like a battle to survive and a starvation battle between people are just all the time are fighting to secure and to seek more of essential needs. So this kind of circumstances that were circulated just make me feel that I cannot make it anymore. So by that time I started to feel that I need to write maybe more to maintain the disciplines maybe and
some
the
kind of sanity.
Exactly. That I want just to keep and maintain and to cover myself from being ruined in this brutal world and circumstances around me. So I started to become a member of the We Are Not Numbers, and one of the greatest mentors, Nancy Krikorian, she's an American writer. She believed in me and she supported me like very well, and so far she's just following up with me, just trying to motivate my understanding, and she's like so kind and deep in understanding the humanitarian emotions, even that she has never been in my situation, but she can understand my emotions. And so far she told me that she wanted me to write more, and she can find that there's something special about my writings and I'm just a good writer. So by that time I was thinking that yes, maybe this is like another way where I can maintain my soul. I can be like a human, like a human being again, by reading and writing about my own story and reflect all this pain inside me and grief and the sorrow that just torching my soul, and left this kind of injuries and wounds that can be reflected in some words where people can read. And by that time I can tell you that I didn't care about if people are gonna read it or gonna understand my situation. All I think that like after writing this, when I want just to invest and to make myself busy with something that make me happy. So it was like about just
Like a sort of catharsis.
Yeah, something like I just want
like a therapy.
Exactly. And I just like it was like a cave where I can feel like I'm a firefly, that where I can just shine and bright in a very isolated.
No, that's a lovely image. A firefly in a dark cave where you shine bright, and you shine not just for yourself but also for others around you. Here we have one more segment, Haya, and I mean it's so lovely to hear you share, and it's for me also it's a rare opportunity to listen to you with all your experience that until now perhaps it's the rest of the world we see it just through the lens of the camera, through the media, and finally we get to hear from you as a real witness and someone who who's really experienced what it's like living under occupation for so long with all the hardship, and yet you're still shining. Tetaplah bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Kami masih akan kembali sesaat lagi. Masih bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Di studio saya ditemani Haya Abunasser, seorang aktivis dan penulis asal Palestina, menceritakan pengalaman yang menjadi refugee di tengah konflik Palestina dan Israel. And Haya, you are now outside of Palestine. You see people looking at you. What kind of things do they ask you? And what do they say to you, and what do you tell them? And do you find that people actually understand what's happening in Palestine?
So, first of all, they get a little bit surprised by seeing me because they have this image in their subconscious and conscious about Palestinians, especially who came from Gaza Strip. So once I told them that I'm from Palestine, they cheered me and welcomed me like in a very warm way. And then they start to ask from which part, West Bank mostly, and I told no, I came directly from Gaza Strip. I'm a survivor from the genocide. So they just have like this kind of a background image about how Palestinians who came from Gaza should look like after the thing that they heard about the situation. And I think that they feel this kind of empathy and they are so involved in news. But the thing that sometimes, or most of the times, they don't understand the history of the conflict. They don't understand even like the geography of Palestine, and even like the conflict itself, like the socio-conflict on the socio-geographical diversity between Gaza Strip and West Bank and Israel, and they don't have this kind of understanding. But because of the media and what is just circulated on all the news, they have this kind of empathy with the images, but they don't have like a very
real understanding.
Yeah,
what is it that you want them to understand exactly? And also we see now, even in the United States, for example, or even Europe, people are actually, demonstrating for the Palestinian rights, and also to the end of the genocide, and especially the young people. But how do you see that? Is there a change or a shift in the world's understanding and also interest as well as support for the Palestinian cause? Do you see that there's a shift?
Yeah, I think this is what I called the butterfly effect, because maybe we cannot say like a great result of our outcome of these protests and movements across the world calling for the very clear statement of the liberation of Palestine, and how they put hate on the Zionists for their attack and crimes against Palestinian civilians and women and children, which is something that I do appreciate. And I think that it is like a very great and turning point for all the generations, because they used to be detached with the Palestinians issue, thinking that it was like something about them, not something that related to calling our governments to stop and to call for the ceasefire. So the understanding of the new generations is crucial for us, for the whole communities around the world, because they have this understanding that if it's now for Palestine, tomorrow gonna be us, but in a different way, because we cannot live in this very in a world where it's ruled by power, not by principles and a humanitarian criteria that the United Nations is calling for, and it's supposed to be respected.
Do you feel that this sense amongst the young people that there is this passion for liberation, for self-expression, for self-determination?
Exactly.
Is this something that the young people are feeling?
Yeah, exactly, because if we cannot feel ourselves, it's something that is leading for this kind of derealization and not feeling that we are connected with the real world. We are just trying just to do some kind of task every day and not feeling ourselves that we are valuable. And this is something about us, that we are full of life and we are just very ambitious and passionate people about life and about achieving and about how we are just thriving and striving all the time to achieve more
and you have
more.
Optimism about the future.
We can't live without hope. We still like how we comment. It's like part of our. We cannot, as a human, live without this kind of hope. But I think that we can. I wouldn't be here talking about the future of Palestine or talking about the history of Palestine without feeling that there is a hope. Maybe I'm not gonna witness this hope or this bright future that we deserve, but I hope that maybe the new Palestinians generations may be gonna witness one day. This is why we keep talking about it, because we want to maintain the truth and to keep it from being ruined or being covered by the propaganda of this kind of new power, by using poetries, by using more like movie
very
makers.
important. Speaking is very important. And you will return, and you want to return very soon.
Sure, 100%.
Read us your poem and tell me, what is it about?
So this is, I'm gonna say, this is the first poem I wrote during the genocide, talking about my homesickness. I wasn't in Gaza, but I was in a tent, dreaming and remembering all the laughters and the details of my home. And my house, my room, and I wanted to return back, thinking that what is like, I just like this, a very strong desire inside me just to be there, to wake up and to find myself in my room in a very normal way.
Share with us.
Dear sparrow, take me home. Oh sparrow, go to my home, perch on my windowsill, to behold the moon. My shadow lingers on the mirror. Childhood diaries are under the wardrobe. My painting hangs on the wall. Bedtime tales are on my pillow. In our garden, the purple lilac, azure fountain, rose blossoms, shining oranges in trees, where birds once sang, sallow them on my behalf. With the military evacuation threat, chaos reigned. We had 5 minutes remaining. My gaze flitted. What shall I take? The gifts, the box, or the love letters? Few minutes left. The neighbor's house was bombed. The glass scattered. We lay down on the ground, shielded, our heads stunned into silence. In hand, phone, passport, and ID. And with a gray heart, I had to flee. Gray is gray. Missiles stole the colors. The grass turned gray. The lilac lost its purple hue. Birds are silent on broken branches. From our southern refuge, sights ascend to the sky. Words fog veils the north, where the lilac waits by our door. So dear sparrow, guide me home, to sweep up the dust and find the colors again.
I asked you earlier if you were to describe your identity, what would it be? Just one word.
One word? Palestinians.
Palestinian,
Yeah.
not refugee.
No, I'm a Palestinian from their Smith.
And say if I were your genie and I could grant you a wish to change one thing today, whether it's about yourself or about the world, what would it be?
Change one thing. I think if the humanity can lead with its own original principles without being influenced and affected by power, by interests, by greedy souls, I think we can live and dream of a brighter future.
More humanity.
More humanity.
Haya, thank you so much, and it's been a great pleasure and honor having you here, and thank you so much for sharing, especially, you know, those intimate moments in your life, in your experience, and I really hope for the best, wish for the best, and I hope you make friends wherever you go, and for you to one day to be able to return home, and for your family to be able to return home, and for the Palestinians to be able to call their land, their home.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. Ya, demikian Insight with Desi Anwar kali ini. Jangan lupa Anda juga dapat menyaksikan tayangan ini di cnnindonesia.com dan di YouTube CNN Indonesia. Insight with Desi Anwar. Sampai jumpa, stay safe. Bye-bye.